We're back with another Tuesday treasure from the Kentucky Historical Society. Today we're going back, way back, to a time when Kentucky was actually a county. Doug High has a story on an artifact kept in Frankfort that literally put Kentucky on the map as a state.
June 1st, 1792. Kentucky becomes a state, the 15th state. The document that made it possible is reverently preserved at the Kentucky Historical Society.
The 1792 Constitution is the state's first constitution. It's one of four, and it was passed in 1792. We actually started our long journey to statehood in 1784. Some of the big issues that caused us to go for statehood was that we wanted more authority over our governance and didn't want to have to depend on the Virginia legislature. Danville, which was in Mercer County at the time, was the capital of the Kentucky County of Virginia. So when we became we were working on rather, to become a new state, that was where the governance of the day was happening in Danville. And so all 10 of the constitutional conventions occurred in Danville, which is kind of, more or less Kentucky's first state capital. With the 1792 Constitution, if you can imagine that Kentucky is really on the forefront of creating new states. At the time, when we first started writing the Constitution, there were no other states other than the 13 colonies. Eventually, Vermont beats us to statehood. What I find often when I'm showing people the first state constitution, the thing that they're immediately kind of surprised by is the handwriting. The handwriting is very neat. It's done in completely straight lines for all 20 pages of the document. But the other thing I think that they really latch on to is that it's really old and how it's in good condition, how we're allowing the public to pick it up, touch it, flip the pages, take photographs with it. People seem to really love taking photographs with the first state constitution. I think it's because there's a sense of this is where we began. Often it has the same power as the federal constitution has. It really is the beginning of what we know now as Kentucky.
To learn more about the Kentucky Constitution of 1792, visit us online at History.KY.gov. From the Kentucky History Center and Museums in downtown Frankfort, I'm Doug High.